Welcome to True and Unpolished, the podcast, a Cusp culture production. Through this podcast, our intention is to uplift, inspire, and amuse.
Let's get authentic. Hello, everybody. It's Lydia and Mary with the True and Unpolished podcast. And today I'm very excited to talk about Abby Wambach's book, The Wolf Pack, and specifically the YA, the young adult version. I read this book with my son. And so without further ado, I'd like to let you hear from him, from my 10-year-old son. So here he is. Okay, so 10-year-old son, we're talking about the Wolf Pack and how we decided to read it together, right, as a family. Yes. And you made some posters. Tell me the poster that you have right there. Tell me about it. What does it say? Either one, just choose.
Okay, this one is, I got all this from the chapter Turn Failure into Your Fuel, and I really like that one because it says, I put the old rule, failure means you're out of the game. And the new rule is failure means you're finally in the game.
I love that. So wait, so it says the chapter is transform failure into fuel.
Yes.
And the old rule is failure means you're out of the game.
Yep. And the new rule is failure means you're finally in the game.
Finally in the game. I love it. I love it. I love it. And what's the call to the Wolf Pack?
It's try, fail, claim it. Then transform your failure into your fuel.
So it's try. So here's my question. Are you going to fail?
Yes.
Absolutely. And then what do you do?
Turn that failure into my fuel for the next time I try.
There you go. I love it. What's the next poster say?
This one is the chapter Lead from the Bench.
Mm-hmm.
And then the old rule is wait for permission to lead. The new rule is lead now from wherever you are.
I love it. So instead of waiting for permission to lead or for someone to tell you, hey, it's now your turn to lead, it's you decide.
Yeah.
And you lead now.
It's your choice.
That's right. And what's the call to the Wolf Pack?
If you are alive, you are a leader.
Wow. So a leader is not, like, I can't say, 10-year-old son, you are a leader. You have to say, I'm a leader.
I'm a leader.
So it's a decision, not like an award somebody gives you.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for sharing your posters with us.
Thank you.
You're awesome. We're going to do a high five right now. Right now we're high fiving. You can't see it, but we are. We just did. We high fived.
I just love what he had to say. And I think the enthusiasm behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a leader. And I mean, hearing him talk about failure and understanding that if we don't try, then we can't succeed. And if we don't fail, then we can't succeed.
Yeah.
And I honestly can relate to a lot of what y'all were talking about just in my own journey and being able to kind of struggle in my own journey. And a lot of that for me has to do with staying in, learning what my lane is, and then staying in it.
Yeah. Like boundaries. And yeah, you can hear his enthusiasm. So this is like no joke. He has a poster that he has made of every single, because the book is structured. It gives, in the beginning of each chapter, it gives an old rule and a new rule, which you heard him talk about 2 of them. And then at the end of each chapter, there's a call to the Wolf Pack. So it's like mantras that she gives. And what I love about this, and what I love about what she has to say about leadership, and I'm just going to read like a little teeny portion of this. It is so helpful with the leader thing, because so leader has always had, it has always felt to me like leadership is like a title that you're
Or
given.
hierarchical.
Yeah, right. And like
you're a leader, you're at the top, and you have all your followers below you.
yeah, exactly. And she even talks about a specific rule about that. The old rule is lead and create followers, and the new rule is lead and cultivate more leaders. So, like, real leadership is the cultivation of other leaders. And what I love too, so this is the little part I'm going to read. This is a quote from her. Every person is the leader of their own life at any age. Do not give up that power. Claim it, value it, use it. Leadership is not just the adult at the head of the table. It's every person, regardless of age, who is allowing their own voice to guide their life. It's every person speaking up and showing up to build a better world. Leadership is not a position to earn. It's every single person's right to claim. Leadership is the blood that runs through your veins. It's born in you. It's not the privilege of a few. It is the right and the responsibility of all. Leader is not a title the world gives to you. It's an offering you give to the world. Oh,
As a 10-year-old son said, if you are alive, you are a leader.
yeah, that's right. And the truth is, like, I really want to call this episode, You're Being Watched, or Someone's Watching You, because the truth is, you are being watched. We are being watched when we are in the grocery store. We are being watched when we're at a stoplight. Like, we are being watched. And in
That is so creepy.
I know. It sounds creepy.
I think something that happened to me this week was that I noticed two different people posting animal symbolism.
Ah,
Animal symbolism has been something that has been like really important to me, that I've paid attention to.
yeah, it's your thing. You got a
Yeah,
tattoo.
it's kind of been my thing.
Yeah.
And so, I think, and I don't know if it's as people, I think it certainly tends to be true with females more often than not. What happens is there's this competitive thing. And I know there was a rule in the
Yes.
Act.
I can't wait to talk about. Yes, I can't wait to talk about that one. Go ahead.
So recognizing that, I'm much better off, and my pack is much better off if I cheer them on.
That's right.
Than if I get that tinge of jealousy or ownership or attachment to what it is that somebody else is doing. And so I know for me, that stuff comes up. It kind of wells up, and then I have to consciously choose to let it go and also honor what others are doing. And that isn't that the whole point of what we're wanting to accomplish.
Absolutely. And the one you're talking about is the old rule is be against each other, and the new rule is be for each other. And in this chapter, what she explains is every single time she made a goal, she would point. She would point at the person that passed her the ball. She would point at the coach who created the play. She would point at, one of the guards that prevented the defense from getting to her. So her victory, she gave away, like right away. She accepted it as her own victory, but she also pointed as a way to honor.
That gives me chills.
I know. And then
it's so funny because I've heard that. I haven't heard that, what you're just describing, but as a manifestation technique. So if you're driving down the road and you see the car that you want, you point at it.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Have you heard that?
No.
Yeah. So, that's what it thinks. That's what I'm thinking about. So pointing at the person and giving that person credit, then it's like what you always talk about. When I give then I also receive.
Like in that moment. And she's not taken away from herself. Like she celebrates too.
Right.
And then she talks about the other side of that is when somebody else makes the goal, because she's an Olympic soccer player, for all of you that don't know. And what happens is when somebody makes a goal, everybody on the field like rushes to the person that made the goal, and like chest bumps and high fives and dances. And she said that there's this thing where you think that they're celebrating the person that made the goal, and they're actually celebrating every single one of them that made it possible. Like it's a celebration of their teamwork and their working together, right? And she talks too about this part where she realizes, like, here she is, like she's made more goals in her sport than any other person has in history. And now she's 35. So she's got lots of injuries, and this is her final World Cup. And she, as co-captain of the team, and the coach together make the decision that she's going to be on the bench. Like she's not going to start in her final one. And she said, so she has that initial, like, ego, like hurt. And that is what you heard Kai talk about from leading from the bench, leading from wherever you are. And so she said one of the most important lessons she learned in her entire career was that final game where she was benched, and she recognized that she was to lead from the bench. And she knew these women so well that as they came off the field, she would know which one would need tough love. She'd know which one would need like affirmation. She was there to give water. And she was like yelling so loud that the coach like moved her down all the way down the bench because the coach couldn't concentrate. But she recognized that what leadership is you lead from where you are. You fully embrace it. And I think that, we can have a tendency to rush to be a leader off the bench, right? Like the goal is, shoot, I didn't do all this so that I could sit on the bench, right? But the recognition is that leading from the bench is one of the most powerful things you can do. And my 10-year-old is so cute because he has an injury right now. And he started his own football league of other 10-year-olds. Everybody, I just want you to know that. And it's called the KFL, the Kids Football League. And
this is not, and this is a real thing.
This is a real thing.
About it. It's unbelievable.
Yes. And so every Saturday they are playing in the league, and he has an injury. And so he came to me and he was like, Mom, I'm going to play as much as I can play, and then I'm going to lead from the bench. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm leading from the bench today. And like, he comes in afterwards and he was like, Mom, led from the bench. I didn't even play, not 1 second. I led from the bench. He was like, I was cheering them on. I was giving them water. I was telling them how great they were. And he was just as proud as if he scored all the touchdowns in the game.
That is what a great lesson and practice at such a young age. So I wanted to, what I was thinking about is, because my girl is 14 and a dancer. She really loves dancing. And so she has been a part of this dance team for the last 3 years. And last week was her last dance for her, because she had an injury and had to have surgery. But anyway, so she has had this really cool experience where for the first 2 years, they were all like in their separate corners, and then some of them go to school together, so they would talk, and they would go out and do things together. But my daughter lives on the other side of town, so we don't have that interaction. And but she loves being a part of the team, and she loves dance. And so in the last couple of months, there's just been this magical thing happen that they have come together, and it is the most beautiful, loving, inclusive group of girls, and these
Yeah,
are
awesome.
dance girls. And so in that kind of arena, a lot of times there can be that kind of competition
Yeah.
and vying for, spots and that sort of thing. But what I have witnessed is this opening up and inclusiveness. And one of the things that my daughter and I talked about was just recently, over the past couple of months, we've talked about, because she's shy,
Mhm.
and she likes to have like one really close friend.
That is exactly, you wouldn't know it from listening to my 10-year-old, but that's him. It was him pre Wolfpack, but now he's like found
Oh
his
yeah, he's
voice.
opened
Yeah.
himself
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, totally. But go ahead.
So they are like, so what I've said is, in order to be a part of something, you
Right.
have to be willing to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that is one of the rules, but
Yes.
but
Well,
I think,
the one that I'm thinking of as you're talking about is the old rule is be a lone wolf,
yeah,
so in it for yourself. And the new rule is find your pack. Like you've
yeah,
got a pack and you form that pack.
yes,
And Brene Brown, I think, would call them like the jelly bean jar friends, like
yeah,
the ones that over time, show that they're reliable. They show that they, have boundaries and that they respect your boundaries, and they show that they're vulnerable, and it's over time you kind of earn this. And
yeah,
I think sports gives this really unique opportunity to like create this team. And
mhm,
here's the reality though. Okay, so one of the things that Eckhart Tolle talks about is you can actually replace, instead of having your ego, you can become a part of a group and instead have a group ego, like a collective
right,
ego that the group shares. And that is not at all like these
what,
rules in this book.
yeah,
It absolutely makes sure that you don't do that you're not
yeah,
actually just being egoic, as a
yeah.
group, instead of
Well, I'm
as a
telling you,
person.
I have witnessed this really beautiful thing in just the last couple of months with my daughter and these girls, and they are kind and inclusive. And it's weird because they've kind of been together for the last 3 years, but
Yeah.
there's this all of a sudden this sort of magical shift, and it's just this beautiful thing. And I was a cheerleader when I was in growing up,
Yeah.
and so I experienced some of that, but
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
is. I mean, I think it is a magical thing when you're a part of that kind of community.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a healthy way to do it. And do you think that the pandemic has something to do with it? Like have they recently been able to come back together in a new way? Like had they had to be separate because of COVID?
Well, I think I would say the pandemic has something to do with everything at this point in our
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I think, yeah. I mean, they did take a break last spring, but
Yeah.
they've been dancing all year, and that, socially distant, and just in the past couple of months, yeah, there's been less, like more relaxation with some of the rules and stuff. So
Well,
yeah, that could have definitely have something to do with it.
yeah. And I think that there are actually a lot of beautiful things that are coming out of this. And I think that, Abby makes the point in this book that never before in history, certainly in my lifetime, has there been a call to lead with honor. She says to lead with honor. I would say to lead with love. I think they're synonymous.
Right.
And that's what we need right now. We need, leadership that it comes from a place of real honor, respect, and love for our fellow human beings. Um, And
So I want to speak to that because I know, and I haven't read the book, but I did listen to podcasts about it, and I have the book, and I just haven't read it yet. And so I'm looking at the rules, but there were two about demanding. One
yeah,
about demanding what you deserve, and um, be grateful for what you have and demand what you deserve, and then believe in yourself and demand
the
the
ball.
ball.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that for me personally is really hard. I,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like everything's cool until I reach my breaking point, and then I'll be demanding, like, no, we're not doing that, and then just
Yeah.
cut it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, randomly, a mouse showed up at my house this week in my stove drawer. I opened the drawer, and there was this like little tiny sweet little gray mouse poking its head out of my drawer.
Well, you definitely have a farm going on at your house.
I know I have a farm. I mean, I didn't, bring the mouse on
Have
purpose.
you named it yet? I told you got to name it.
No, I didn't name it.
Okay. All right, everybody, I want you all like so Mary has like a garden. She's got chickens. She's got now we're hearing about the mouse. Like it is like truly a farm over there. So everybody like comment and give us what you think the name of Mary's farm should be, because
Yeah, I need
she needs some
Mhm.
inspiration. She needs some inspiration. And what you're saying reminds me of, and I really, so Kai calls this the orange blueberry rule in the book. And it's be grateful for what you have and demand what you deserve. Now, I have to say that I bristle a little bit at the word demand. And I know the word water doesn't make you wet, but the word itself feels uncomfortable to me. So I'm sitting with that. I'm wondering, does it feel uncomfortable to me because of this, of this notion that women are supposed to be nice and meek and docile, or is it because demanding feels, out of alignment with love? So I'm sitting with it. So I actually changed the rule when I read it to him, and it's be grateful for what you have and ask for what you deserve. And I think you ask from a place of power. So I think that's where the demand component comes in. So you ask from the knowing that you're worth it. And what happened is I'd come home with groceries, and my 10-year-old Wolfpack lover is standing holding an orange. And he said, Mom, can I have this orange? And I said, well, yeah, but I just got back from the store. I got blueberries. And I said that because he loves blueberries. That's why I said it, right? And this is what he does. I'm not kidding you. He goes, oh, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'll just have blueberries. That's great. And he puts the orange down. And I went, wait a minute. Do you want the blueberries? And he was like, oh, absolutely. Thank you for going to the store, Mom. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, blueberries would be great. And I said, hold on, stop. Do you want blueberries, or are you saying that you want blueberries because you're trying to show me that you're grateful that I went to the store? And he said, well, yeah, I'm kind of doing that, so it's a people pleaser thing, which is really built into him. And I said, son, you need to have the orange. I said, ask for what you deserve. I said, it's not like you're asking for a kumquat, that we don't have. Like, you literally are holding the orange. And it was a great opportunity for him and I know where he gets the people pleaser thing. It's from yours truly. Like, I'm a recovering people pleaser. And, and he wants so much to be grateful. And that's the other thing that you touched on in what you just said. And that is, be grateful for what you have, be grateful. And she says, in addition to being grateful and asking for what you deserve, be grateful, but do not just be grateful. Be grateful and brave. Be grateful and ambitious. Be grateful and righteous. Be grateful and persistent. Be grateful and loud. Be grateful for what you have and demand what you deserve. And I would just say that if you, like me, bristle at the word demand, I would invite you to do what I have done, which is replace that with ask, knowing fully your worthiness that you deserve this thing.
I think that's good advice, and it's also something that is really scary to me. Roxy is barking in the background. That's my farm dog. And
I think that it's because she's demanding, what
right.
she deserves.
She's like demanding, well, she's protecting her pack.
Yeah.
So I think that's very fitting.
Yes.
But yeah, that's something I'll have to sit with, because I've got this mouse that is, popping up, and, is that mouse saying, it's okay to be small?
Yes.
Or is it something else?
Well, and that goes back to lead from the bench, right? So you lead from wherever you are. Like I have done this myself, and I have watched people do this where they demand what they believe they deserve, and they're not ready for it yet. Like they actually haven't done the work
right
to get it. And so there is such a thing as demanding early. You know what I mean? Like, don't demand a stage. Don't demand a stage. The world will give you a stage if you fully embrace these rules, these leadership kind of qualities. If you fully embrace the love that you are and are able to sit humbly on the bench when life benches you, then the world gives you your stage. You don't have to demand it. But on the flip side, there is, and I liken this to when I walked into Unity of Appleton for the first time. I walked in and I knew that I was going to be the spiritual leader. Like I knew that I was being called to do this, but I'm a total stranger to these people. And I'm thinking, okay, I hear you, universe, but who's going to tell all these people? Because I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and what I did was know that I was being called to, ask for what I deserve, that life, that I had prepared, I had done the work in my consciousness to serve in this role. And I waited until the nudge got so loud that it was, now is the time, ask for what you deserve.
And
12
years ago, Lydia and I started something, and we started a business called Angelfish Creations.
Yeah.
And life took us separate paths in very different directions. And so here we are now, 12 years later. So doing this other thing, we're doing this podcast together, and, we're doing other things together. So yeah, I think
we're leading. I mean, we are now what we were trying to be then, but we were forcing it. We were demanding the ball too early.
It wasn't time.
Right.
I mean, a lot has changed for both of us. For me, I went through a pretty difficult divorce, and lots of other changes. And so, I think for me, it wasn't time.
And we know that as long as we're living, we're growing. So we never get it done. But there is a time to step up and know that, yes, now is my time to take the stage. And the stage in this example is a metaphor. And I think that it is important to recognize that if you demand too early, you are not only doing the world a disservice, you are doing yourself a disservice, because the real transformation happens in the neutral zone. It happens in the in-between periods where you're learning, you're growing, you're transforming, and then comes the, okay, now it's my ball. Give me the ball.
Well, for me, and for me, if it's too hard, I mean, if it really is like upstream, is what Abraham says, and if it's upstream, like that means I'm paddling to get where I want to go instead of turning my boat around and letting my boat go with the flow.
That's right.
So if it's too hard, then, maybe I need to let go a little and let life take me a little further before I try to make something happen that's not ready yet.
That's right. And if life benches you in that way, it's your opportunity to give the gift of your leadership from the bench, and then inevitably you'll get it. You'll get called off the bench and it'll be your time to shine. Well, everybody highly, highly recommend this book, the young adult version, to anybody with children, anybody whose kid identifies as an athlete, anybody, girls especially. She really speaks to girls in this book in a really big way, and any LGBTQ. It's an amazing read. Wolfpack by Abby Wambach. Mary, as always, you are a treasure, and I love you so very much. And thank you all for listening. I've been having so much fun looking at where our listeners are, and the majority of them are in Wisconsin and South Carolina, but we literally have listeners in every single state, and we have listeners abroad, and it's very, very humbling, and we are so grateful to you for listening. And there is a free Facebook group, Create More Peace, where you can interact directly with Mary and I, and it is a great way to find your pack. Your pack is on that Create More Peace group, so join us there. You have been listening to True and Unpolished, the podcast. Let's see what happens next. Oh, wait, guys, I know this is total ego, but I have to tell you, I am under the weather, and that is why I sound like this. And that was totally my ego, and I may even get rid of it in the editing process. But thank you for indulging me. Let's see what happens next.